Hey, it's just another Mailbag Monday, and you asked the following questions. Is Manny Machado a better option than Anthony Rendon? The Brewers, they kind of blew it with Corbin Burnes, and we think that maybe we should make a trade for him now, and somebody suggested Joe Adell and some others, and has there really not been any extension talks between Shohei Ohtani and GM-PM? Come on, it's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And John and I thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen every day. Of course, every show is free and available on all platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And those watching on YouTube, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and click that bell to be notified every time a new episode drops.
Thanks for being here with us for this Monday mailbag edition of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, a couple notes. First up, Mike, this is going to be our last Mailbag Monday. Can you believe it?
I can't.
Is that heartbreaking?
It's not heartbreaking because tell them what we're going to do, John.
Instead, we are going to move that to Fan Mail Fridays starting next week because that way we can cover all of the weekend's games. And considering that spring training is starting this weekend against the Mariners on Saturday, we're very excited about that. So we're going to move Mailbag Monday to Fan Mail Fridays starting next week. In fact, we actually have a lot happening this week. Like I said, the first game of spring training against the Mariners is on Saturday. And coming up this week, important updates from spring training, a breakdown of the Matt Moore signing, a look at the bullpen, and a discussion of who should break camp as the starting catcher. And from the LA Times, Angels beat writer Sarah Valenzuela is going to join us this week. But first, we got to get to the Monday mailbag. Mike, you're going to be happy about this first voicemail.
Okay.
You want to know why?
Why?
Because it's our good friend Barbara from Florida. She's got a voicemail for us. Here we go.
Let's go.
Hey guys, this is Barbara from Florida, and even though you know I switched to the other side, I'm still a fan of your show. I totally agree with you as far as retaliating if someone throws up and in continually against Mike Trout. I've said that for a long time. Baseball has changed so much, but some things never change. And one of them is that not only could Mike Trout get hurt, but if it gets around that the Angels just don't retaliate, they're like patsies, then teams will continue to do it. It's human nature. Also, it does kind of light a fire under the team. The other thing I wanted to mention is why you think that Aaron Loup and Tepera both such a disappointment last year when they had such a great year the year before, and what you think of the Matt Moore signing. I know you mentioned it before that he's one of the ones you wanted. So that's all. I just wanted to ask your opinion. Thanks. Bye.
Barbara from Florida, thank you for giving us a call. We know you're rooting for the Yankees this year, but we appreciate you still watching Locked On Angels. We love having you around. Mike, you're shaking your head.
I don't buy that. Something in Barbara's heart is not letting her root for anybody else but the Angels. Barbara, it's okay. You can come home. Come on.
We'll take you home. You know, Mike, you and I had a family friend named Dee who loved the Angels. She's unfortunately passed, but we would talk baseball with her for hours. Angels baseball with her for hours. And Barbara reminds me of our family friend Dee that we talked to so much. So Barbara had a couple of questions. First of all, retaliating and protecting Mike Trout and saying it's good that the Angels stick up for themselves because if the league learns that they won't, they'll keep doing it. You think that's true?
I 100% agree, and I think that the Angels, again, need to draw a line in the sand because we have been the most pickable team over the last few years because we haven't made the playoffs, right? And you have to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, we're fighting not just for a playoff spot, but we're fighting for a strong, gritty reputation. And if somebody's going to throw at our star, man, we can't sit back and just pretend like it didn't happen. And that's why I really like Phil Nevin at the helm of this Angel team.
She mentioned Ryan Tepera and Aaron Loup not having as great a seasons as they had the previous year. But, Mike, I pulled some interesting stats, and here's what I've found. And it has to do with the first half versus the second half. Listen to this. Ryan Tepera, in his first 30 games or so, 34 games. You know how many inherited runners he came into the game with?
It feels like a lot, but give me a number.
In 28 and 2/3 innings, he came into the game with 15 inherited runners.
Wow.
You know how many
Holy
he came
cow.
into the game with in the second half?
I don't.
28 and 2/3 innings, which is equally as much as the first half, 6.
Wow.
6 inherited runners.
Wow.
And he let 40% of those inherited runners score. He only let 50%, which is 3 of those inherited runners score. So you could see that he was being pitched in much more favorable situations in the second half.
Yeah.
Same thing with Aaron Loup. You know what's interesting about Aaron Loup? His BABIP, batting average on balls in play, in the first half was .325. In the second half, it was .258. So he got a lot more ground balls that the defense behind him were able to get more putouts with. And so you could see that the situations that these guys were put in the later half of the season was much more favorable than the first half. And I think that has everything to do with knowing their role and shutting their mouth. No, I'm just kidding. Knowing their role and not having Joe Maddon make bullpen decisions, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I'm getting to here.
You can see the impact of having Phil Nevin as the manager already in just those numbers, because Phil was giving them clean innings. And one of the things that I'm really excited about, and we did an episode on this a few months back, that Tepera and Loup are bounce back candidates because they always had kind of a so-so year and then a really great year. But the numbers you just shared with us are the reason why they bounce back so well. They come in, clean inning. They're able to actually pick up a guy every once in a while, but for the most part, they can come in and do a shutdown inning, which allows the team to either remain tied or hold the lead, whatever the role they play in that game. And Joe Maddon seems to be like a guy who doesn't really care about that stuff, but Phil Nevin in the second half especially was a guy that really set these pitchers up to be successful.
One more note on Aaron Loup. His FIP, fielding independent pitching, meaning what they can control, was .345 in the first half, and it was .403 in the second half.
Wow.
Do you know what's interesting about that? The reason why it's .403 is because he allowed more hits, right? And those hits should have, quote, should have scored or led to more runs.
Yeah.
But again, the defense behind him helped bring that number down and helped bring those results down. He actually had a .341 ERA in the second half versus a .433 ERA in the first.
Yeah.
And to address Barbara's last question about the Matt Moore signing, we are very thrilled about that. In fact, we're going to talk about that on tomorrow's episode. We'll give you all the details, all the stats, and all of our opinions about that.
Yeah. Johnny Eggy Nicky always has really great questions. And
Yes.
here's a question I thought was really interesting. Are you concerned with Loup, Tepera, and Matt Moore and all the money that they are making this season? Why don't you talk about that?
There's no bad one-year deals for a bullpen guy. That's how I feel about this. And a lot of people will say the same thing. There's no bad one-year deals for a bullpen guy. You never know who you're going to get, as we learned.
Yeah.
However, you and I are confident that with better management, the results might have been different for Aaron Loup and Ryan Tepera, but they still probably would have had some struggles, right? Sure. I think you could say the same thing about Matt Moore. He's got a proven track record in this last year that he's a very good bullpen arm, and they're going to take a chance with him. Could it go bad? Of course. Could it be excellent? Of course.
Yeah.
Bullpens are very volatile, and that's why you have a good mix of veterans who've been there before and young guys who are trying to make a splash as a bullpen piece. But regarding the numbers, we got some notes here, Mike. Why don't you take us through those numbers?
Yeah, Matt Moore is going to be on this team this year. 1-year contract, $7.75 million. Ryan Tepera has 1 year remaining at $7 million. Aaron Loup, 1 year remaining, $7.5 million. And he does have a club option for 2024 or a $2 million buyout. I can see the Angels perhaps like taking that option because especially if he has a good year. Here's what I really appreciate about these numbers, John. Matt Moore and his $7.5 million deal and Carlos Estevez, who we haven't talked about, both of them combined for $14.5 million this season, and that's what Raisel Iglesias would have made this season. And so we are getting two pitchers for the price of one. And I get that Iglesias is fantastic, but I do really get excited about a Matt Moore and the potential of Estevez in this bullpen. Plus, it extends this bullpen to where we're not relying on somebody that maybe hasn't proven themselves yet, and we have two really solid bullpen pieces, one of which, Estevez, who might be the closer. So I'm excited about this. I'm not worried about the money here. And to your point, one-year deals are incredible when it comes to bullpen pieces because they can be so volatile, like what happened with Aaron Loup last year compared to the year before, right? And so I think that we actually have a really good-looking bullpen, and we should be excited about it this season.
Hey, Cool Brad on Instagram said, should the Angels get another shortstop or catcher or even a starting pitcher / relief guy? I'm of the opinion, Mike, I like the idea of Gary Sanchez, but I'm starting to see that the Angels are running up against the luxury tax threshold, and until they go over it, I don't believe they will go over it. So I'll believe it when I see it. How do you feel? Do you feel shortstop, catcher, starting pitcher, relief pitcher, any of those stand out to you?
I really think that a starting pitcher is going to be necessary for this team, and that's probably what they're going to make a trade for if they're in competition for that third wild card spot come July, because I think they need another really solid right-handed pitcher in this rotation. I love Detmers, you know that. I love Sandoval, but I do think that we need somebody who maybe has been there before and that we can make a trade for that can really be a number 2 or a number 3 behind Shohei and Tyler Anderson.
Hey, coming up on Locked On Angels, we're going to get to more of your questions, including Manny Machado. He has made it known that he wants to opt out after this season. Is he somebody the Angels could go after? We're going to talk about it here in just a minute.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. We're at the midway point of the NBA season, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. I did. I'm not a bettor, and what's great about this app is it actually walks you through on how to bet and how to win. So if you want to win, man, you should download this app today. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to the point scores to threes made in the NBA. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss your chance at a no-sweat first bet. Up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
We want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen today, and for your second listen, you got to check out Locked On MLB Prospects with host Lindsey Crosby. He's a prospect encyclopedia, and he just went through all 30 teams before spring training starts, including our Halos. He has a great episode, very informative, very educational, and you're going to get to know a lot of the up-and-comers in the Angel system. So check out Locked On MLB Prospects. You won't regret it. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube.
It is a Mailbag Monday, and so, John, let's go back to the voicemails. Brandon from Virginia left us a message.
Hey, guys, this is Brandon from Virginia. I read that Manny Machado is opting out of his contract after this season. Do you think if Rendon doesn't stay healthy this year, do you think we should go after Machado? Or do you think that the contract for him will be too much? Or do you guys think that we're pretty high on our prospects, in AAA, AA for third base? I'd like to hear what you guys think. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.
Brandon, thanks for your voicemail, calling us from Virginia. Great to hear from you, and we appreciate you giving us a call. That's a good question about Manny Machado. Now, reportedly, he wants a 10-year, $400 million deal.
Woo.
Wherein which he would be 31 years old. Now, does he have the track record? Of course. Could he get that contract? Well, after this offseason, anything's possible, right?
Sure,
we could easily see something like that. But he's going to be 31, and he's made it known that he is going to opt out after this season with the Padres. He looks to be making, on his current deal, about $30 million for the rest of this contract, which would take him up to age 35, if I recall, 36 maybe.
Okay.
And I think that he wants that 10-year deal and that extra $10 million a year, and that would also add about 5 more years to what he's got now. I see that he's trying to really secure the bag for the rest of his career. Because when you're done at 35, I'm not sure that people are going to be clamoring for you to join their team. And I also have to consider we signed Anthony Rendon at age 30 to a 7-year deal. Now, the annual value for Rendon at the time was higher than Machado's. Machado's has grown over the years, the annual average value. But I look at this and I think, number one, I think he's out of our reach in terms of cost. And number two, I would be concerned that we're signing another Rendon, and for as much as you and I love Rendon and think that when he is on the field, he contributes in a significant way, it's been frustrating. His injuries have been frustrating. And Machado being 31 and wanting a 10-year deal, that scares me, Mike. What do you think?
Yeah, I would stay away from it. Here's why I would stay away from it, because what we saw this offseason is the strategy, the game plan of Perry Manassian, right? And if we sign Manny Machado, I think it might be an indication that Artie is meddling again. Doesn't this just feel like an Artie move, John? It feels like he would do this. And quite honestly, I love the pieces that we picked up this offseason because they met the need of the team. And that's what we need to continue to focus on, is the need of the team. And if we're going to throw any money at anybody, it should be Shohei Ohtani. And if we don't get Shohei, I don't think we should go run and try to grab a 31-year-old shortstop third baseman, right? I think we should continue to build our team and be the team that can be successful in years to come.
We've seen the strategy, too, this offseason, that these teams are spending a ton of money to win now.
Yeah.
They are giving contracts like what Machado wants.
Yeah.
So that in the first 4-5 years, they go out there and win something. And then they put up with the crappy back end of the contract for 5 years.
Right.
And carry this guy who can't really do much on the field anymore. Now, they do have the benefit of the DH, which we'll probably see a lot of these contracts like Bogart's and this potential Machado contract, right? Those long contracts that go into age 40. I think in Bogart's case, it's like age 40 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so they will have the advantage of the DH, but these are all teams that are trying to get everything right now.
Yeah.
And I understand the urgency, but I also think a lot of these teams are going to live to regret it in the next decade or so.
Oh,
hey,
for
Mike,
sure.
How about Daniel Williams, 2021 on Instagram? He said, and this is kind of piggybacking off that previous question, do you think Gio Urshela and Hunter Renfroe will be re-signed at the end of the season if they both perform well?
I would love to see them come back, and I would love to see them perform well. I think this is the reason why you don't go after a Manny Machado, because these are two really great pieces for your team. If there's better options out there, then yeah, let's go get those better options. Or if Joe Adell suddenly becomes the Mike Trout Jr. version that we think he can become, then let's have him play, right? But I think this is why you don't go and sign a Manny Machado, because you have great players like this on your team, and you're going to want to lock them up maybe for at least 3 or 4 years, depending on what they would demand. But I really like these two players, and I'm excited to watch them play this season. Johnny, James Russell Barton from Instagram said, should GM-PM, I like that that's trending now, by the way, should GM-PM be aggressive and trade Adell and prospects for Corbin Burnes? Is that realistic? John, did you see his interview? He was talking about arbitration, and they blamed him for, at least in his opinion, for not making the playoffs, and you could tell it really bothered him. Now, on the flip side, and then I want to hear your thoughts on if we should make a trade. On the flip side, I don't know if you saw your boy, Jared Reaver, there's your, your reference. Jared said, did he not know what arbitration is? Like, this is what arbitration is. You go in and you actually fight for your case. And of course, the team's going to say things. It did feel like it was a bit of a slight, a bit of a downhill conversation towards Corbin Burnes. He's fantastic. We had a Locked On Angel listener that suggested we trade for him and put it in the trade simulator, and it came out really awesome. John, what do you think about this situation with him? And what do you think about trading potentially like a Joe Adell and some of our prospects to bring him over?
Well, I get where Weave is coming from in terms of like You didn't know this was going to happen in arbitration, but here's the problem, Mike. They were arguing over $750K. $750K cost you a strong relationship with your best player.
Yeah.
What the heck
Feels
are
like
you
an angel
doing?
move, doesn't it?
Right. And the second thing is, what he took from that conversation was they blamed me for not getting to the postseason.
Yeah.
How in the world could you blame Corbin Burnes for not getting to the postseason? Mike, I could understand saying, well, he didn't pitch enough innings, or he didn't get enough strikeouts, or in this situation, he didn't deliver in this thing, right? Like, there are a million different ways to arbitrate, but if Corbin Burnes took away the fact that they blamed him personally for not making the postseason, then what the heck did you say in arbitration to give him that feeling and that perception?
Right.
That's how I feel about the conversation regarding Adele and prospects for Corbin Burnes. I think that's somebody you pull the trigger on, Mike. I think Corbin Burnes is somebody you pull the trigger on, even if it cost us Joe Adele, maybe even like Zach Neto, and Edgar Caro, the guys that we're very excited about. I think that Corbin Burnes is exactly the right guy that you pull the trigger for in a situation like this and give up some prospects. And he's a Southern California guy too. He likes the Angels. Is it realistic, James asked? I don't know. I don't know if we have the collateral to make this trade, but I do like the idea of this trade 100%.
Well, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Built Bar. If you're hungry during the day, but you don't want to have all those fat and calories or grab a snack that's not healthy for you, Built Bars are something that you got to try. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. These bars are delicious, and they are actually good for you. And what makes them so good? They're covered in 100% real chocolate, and they come in really great flavors like churro and peanut butter brownie and coconut almond, and they taste like a candy bar while remaining healthy. You can grab one of these candy bars, and they're only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. So here's how you can grab a bar. You can go to their website, built.com, right now. There's a wide selection. And take your time, because there is a wide selection, and you're going to want to get the bar that you really like. If you want to taste test, then go to your local Walmart. They have bars in the pharmacy section, and they have 4-bar boxes filled with flavors like cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. And then you can also go to Sam's Club. They have a 13-bar box with all of their hit flavors like brownie batter and churro. And when you have them, you can thank us later. Built Bars and Built Puffs. You got to try this.
We've got a few more questions and one more voicemail from our buddy, Dennis from Buena Park. Let's go.
Hey guys, this is Dennis from Buena Park. So you know about the Bally Sports bankruptcy thing. So what are the chances that Bally Sports has to re-sign contracts with all their teams and the Angels don't re-sign and they go back to Channel 11 or something like that? Because I've been dying to watch baseball games. We don't have cable or anything. So what are the chances that they go back to some Channel 11 or Channel 7 or whatever? Thanks. Bye.
Dennis from Buena Park, thanks for your voicemail, my friend. Always good to hear from you. Okay, Mike, I think I have an answer for this one.
Okay.
Dennis, here's the thing. So far, the Angels will still be on Bally Sports. Now, I understand you don't have cable. There is a subscription service, but don't be fooled, because the Angels are not on that Bally Sports Plus subscription service.
Right.
So that's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is, unfortunately, Rob Manfred has said that if they have to take over the broadcast, they will find another cable partner to make it happen with, which means probably Fox Sports 1 or some other local sports network or something like that. So it will remain on cable. Now, I do have some good news. If that's going to be the case, it does sound like that MLB TV will remove the blackout restrictions so that you can subscribe to MLB.TV and watch our Halos. And it's even better if you or your parents or somebody you know has T-Mobile. T-Mobile has T-Mobile Tuesdays, and they will grant you a free year of MLB TV just for being a subscriber to T-Mobile. So if your cell phone plan is on T-Mobile, you get free MLB TV for the year. I think that starts right before the season starts. You can do that. So Dennis, I hope you find a way to watch our Halos in 2023.
Heck yeah, that's a great explanation, and I'm with him. Like Channel 11, Channel 5, that's my childhood. So
Channel
Dennis,
9, were they on KCAL too?
They were, yeah. You're speaking
and
you're
13
speaking my language, and 13. They were all over the place. I want to see them get rid of that blackout nonsense. That's so stupid that they do that. Hey, Johnny, our buddy Anthony Aguiles on Instagram said, How's it going, Super Halo Bros? Can you elaborate a bit on what Shohei said at the press conference? He said he hasn't heard a single word about the extension. What I think he means is that he hasn't heard anything because his agent is taking care of it all, and Shohei's looking forward to being focused on the season, and people are taking it as the Angels don't want to re-sign Shohei Ohtani. Here's an interesting thought, Johnny. One of our listeners from Japan who comments often on our YouTube channel said that Shohei had this reputation as a teenager as being kind of a snotty teenager, being somebody who was kind of bratty, right? And what
that was Miri Kaku on YouTube. Yes,
that's
shout
right.
out to
and
her.
so they gave us some perspective of what it was like watching Shohei grow up a bit, and they're saying he still kind of has this like meh kind of attitude when it comes to the media and when it comes to talking about things. The truth is that when the Angels have signed anybody long term or have made a move, we had no rumblings of it beforehand. There was no rumors. There was no tweets. There was no, what is it, Dave Meltzer in WWE and AEW. Like, he wasn't breaking the news, right?
The dirt sheets.
Exactly. There was no dirt sheets. And so I think what we're going to find out is that this thing is just going to smack us right in the face if they sign an extension. And I don't believe that they haven't had these conversations. I think Shohei doesn't want to talk to the media about it. And what we've learned about his history is that this is who Shohei is. I don't think it's an indication that the Angels haven't had a conversation with him. Now, if they haven't, come on, what are you doing? Like, offer that guy the bag, give him a part of the stadium. Like, this guy's got to stay here. We love Shohei Ohtani. And so I think it's just an indication of how things work in Anaheim.
Well, and as we discussed during the episode about what Shohei has actually said, he is focused on this season. He's focused on being an Angel. He's focused on winning in 2023 with the team that he's with right now. He's not thinking too far ahead. He's not thinking about next year. He's thinking about right here and now, and I appreciate that about him. Last question of the day goes to 19 RobDog91 on Instagram. He said, any more moves before opening day? Mike, the competitive balance tax, a.k.a. the luxury tax, is $233 million. The Angels currently sit at $227 million in terms of the luxury tax. So that gives us about $6 million to spare. How do you feel? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know who you can get for $6 million besides me and you, and so I don't know if they'll be able to sign anybody else. I don't
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, maybe you're worth more than that. Come on, but. Here's the reality is I don't think there is going to be any other like big moves. We might see some like free agent signings and minor league contracts and things like that. I know Perry likes to say, last year we signed these players during spring training, but you're $6 million underneath that luxury tax. I just don't think that they're going to go over it unless it's this major deal. Like if Michael Wacha was still out there, then I would say I could see them going after Wacha, but there isn't anybody out there that would make me go, yes, let's bust the luxury tax and get this person. Do you see anybody?
I don't think there's anybody worth going over the luxury tax for off the top of my head, and we can finally stop talking about Elvis Andrus at shortstop because he finally signed with the White Sox, so we can move past that conversation, thank goodness.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB Prospect Show with our friend Lindsey Crosby. He's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow, and his podcast is free and available wherever you get your podcasts.
Be sure to give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. It's the best place to get our instant reactions when there's breaking news. We had some people ask about, what about Matt Moore? What do you think about Matt Moore? Well, we talked about him on Twitter, but we are going to get into that a little bit more tomorrow, aren't we, Mike?
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about Matt Moore. We're going to talk about the bullpen. And one of the things I'm excited about is we're going to talk about how Matt Moore improved from 2021 to 2022. The numbers are there, and our buddy from Locked On Rangers actually gave us some good information about Matt Moore. So we're going to share all of that, talk about the bullpen tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
We hope you'll come back and join us once again for more Locked On Angels. Until Tuesday, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us. That's going to do it for today's episode, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.